All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Just want to welcome you to the YouTube channel we've started, Clear Channel, Klear channel. We record on Fridays, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. I know there's a lot of people on today that are watching live in the audience, so thanks for jumping on this morning. Our mission at the Clear Channel and my mission as a entrepreneur is to help change the world one leader at a time. And I know this channel is a way to do that. So if you have not subscribed, please go to YouTube, type in KLEAR channel. Please subscribe. We have well over 1,000 subscribers today on the channel. We have hundreds of hours that are being watched on a monthly basis. And for those of you that are within our organization and within our industry in sales and leadership development, listen, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've got a chance to bring on a ton of people onto this channel, entrepreneurs inside the industry, outside the industry, professional athletes. And there's a ton of great content that you can just learn from someone who did what you're doing and or is doing exactly what you're doing right now. All right, so today we're going to talk about and actually, no, it's going to annoy me. We're going to talk about science. So I don't know how many of you guys know science, like science, or, just we're like me, science kind of changed my future a little bit and what I was going to do schooling wise. So I'll tell you just a quick story. Back in ninth grade, I was in biology. And I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up. That's what I told my parents. That's what I told a lot of my friends. And it was ninth grade, freshman year of high school. There was this little, biology, I don't know, dissection scenario where we had to dissect frogs. We get into the room. I could tell you exactly where I was in the high school. That I could go back to the room. That's how much of an impact it had on me many, many years ago. And I go into the room. There's all this equipment set up. They start bringing out all these dead frogs, and we're supposed to cut it open and learn about, I don't know, frogs. I started smelling some stuff, something called formaldehyde. And I didn't make it much past that. I don't remember if it was like I hit the floor hard or I took down the person with me, but I was out. I was out. I was totally passed out. And I remember going home that night, sitting in front of my dad and my mom, and telling them that I don't think I'm going to be a doctor anymore. The formaldehyde got me. I don't think I can handle surgeries and other things. So it changed my life a little bit. But, the science that I'm going to talk about today is a little bit different. It's not, dissecting frogs or cadavers or anything crazy. I'm going to talk about some projects and some science projects that tell us a little bit about life, a little bit about leadership. And the first one is there's an experiment done with monkeys. And there was a ladder set up with a banana at the top of this ladder. And, monkeys were playing around in this, confined environment. And then a monkey noticed that there's a banana on the top of the ladder. So he started to run up the ladder and he got the banana, started eating. And at the same time, the monkey's up there eating, cold water got sprayed on all the other monkeys. A little bit of time comes down and all the monkeys kind of freaking out a little bit. Same thing. Another one goes up and then cold water comes down and sprays all the monkeys. And this went on and on and on. And after a few different times of, a monkey running up the ladder and getting the banana, as the monkey started to move up the ladder, the monkeys grabbed the other monkey, pulled him down and started, roughing him up because they didn't want to get sprayed with the cold water. And little by little, the monkey started to stop running up the ladder. Over a course of time, the scientists took out one of the monkeys, put in another monkey with a raincoat. And same thing happened as one of the monkeys started running up the ladder. And the monkey that wasn't aware of what was going on would run up the ladder. The other monkeys would pull him down and rough him up. Again, same thing happened. And little by little, they started moving the monkeys out of the experiment. and monkey number two, monkey number three. And same time, when the new monkey came in, they didn't know better. They tried to run up the ladder, and the other monkeys were there to kind of bring them down and to beat them up a little bit. So the monkeys were, again, kind of creating this environment where they're keeping the ones that were that weren't able to, or weren't privy to the rain and everything else. And it's interesting because over time, even though the monkeys were unaware that there was a big rain, there's a big issue, when the monkey ran up the ladder, little by little, they just stopped, they stopped the other monkey from running up the ladder. Again, although they never knew about the rain, they were trained to keep the other monkeys from running up the ladder. And at the end of the experiment, the scientists asked the monkeys why they did that. And the monkeys simply said, "That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is." Not knowing what happened before, generations before them, generations of monkeys getting in and out of this experiment, not knowing that the life was a certain way, they just said, "That's just the way it is." And when I saw this experiment, and when I read about it, it got me thinking about life. It got me thinking about business. It got me thinking about influence. And and I think about what it means to be an example, and what it means to train and mentor and develop people. And unfortunately, I think sometimes people are doing things certain ways because they think it's the way it should be, not knowing better. And so what I challenge you, as if you're watching this channel, you're watching live, I challenge you to think about why you're doing what you're doing, why you're training certain ways, why you're supporting people certain ways. And is there better ways, right? Or, and it's interesting because in this experiment, I think of my family and some of the heritage, some of the lineage, some of the influence. And I think about like Thanksgiving. I think about my mom's brown rice and how we make brown rice in our family. There's a special formula. There's, consomme soup. We bake it in the oven. We put in there for an hour. We have onions. There's like this special brown rice that it's called the Lear family recipe. And and again, I think to myself, why is it made that way? And the reason it's made that way, it's because of what my mom taught me. And then she learned from someone, But the question is that the best way? It's the same thing. Another thing that you think about, like family time, and like the way I cook a steak, or the way I cook a ham, or the way I cook a chicken breast, or whatever, a turkey on Thanksgiving, right? I don't know if you know this, but there's some generations of people, when they cook hams or they cook turkeys or whatever. So another story kind of was aligned with this one. There's someone in a family, when they go to cook their turkey, they cut off a certain pieces of the chicken before they put them in the oven. And somebody's like, "Well, why are we cutting off the arms and the legs of the chicken?" And the message to them was, "Hey, it's just that's not a very good part of the chicken. It's not a very good part of the turkey." And then you know the the kid was like, "Well, that doesn't make sense to me. That they don't do that at my friend's house, right? They don't do that in other places. Like, I don't see that happen." And so the kid asked the mom, and the mom asked the grandma, and the grandma asked their mom, because that's still around. And sure enough, a few generations earlier, the reason why this happened through the generations of the family is, grandma's grandma basically tells the story about the reason why they cut off pieces of the chicken was because the oven many, many years ago was too small. It wasn't because the chicken wasn't good. It wasn't because that piece of the meat wasn't good. It's because back in the day, they couldn't cook it a certain way. Right? So how often do we do this in life? How often do we perceive things, look at things in a certain way based on how it was kind of taught to us? So again, the first experiment I just wanted to share with you guys, thought it was a very interesting one that I read about. I would just challenge you in influence and in training and how you look at the world. I challenge you to think about, is that the right way to look at it? If I'm ingrained in my mind, and again, I'm in sales, right? I'm in the industry of leadership and sales. So often people in the industry we're in have certain perceptions of a scenario, of a store that they're selling in, of a customer and how they look at things, right? Of the objections. There's certain things that people say to themselves that don't really serve them. And unfortunately, people look at things a certain way, and a lot of it's very ingrained in our subconscious. And it's really, really important that you remove some of those things that don't serve you and start transitioning your mind into a place that will help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. So that's experiment number one. Hopefully, you guys found it interesting. I know when I read it, I was like, man, that's so crazy. But I've definitely seen that. The second experiment I want to tell you about, again, has to do with animals, has to do with chickens, and it has to do with how chickens are rewarded. So they set up, in this experiment, they set up two different, groups of chickens. The first group of chickens, there's about 10 of them. The second group of chickens were 10 of them. They're all kind of living their certain way, and there's a light at the end of the little experiment. And in the first cage, every time the light turned green, food would drop, right? And so, the chickens are living in there a period of time, and of course, they're just kind of doing their thing, and then it turns green, food drops, chickens go over, they eat, right? And this is going on for months at a time, months and months and months at a time. In the second cage, they have a bunch of chickens, same scenario, but in this cage, they have a similar light, but the light turns on and turns off, turns on, turns off. And it does this for a period of time, and it does it 10 different times, turns on and off. And at the 10th time, food drops. And then the chickens are in there, and they kind of, they notice the light, whatever. Again, over time, they start watching and paying attention and whatever. And they don't do anything after the first time, and the second time, the third time, and they're just kind of go about their way. But once the 10th time it happens, food drops, and they obviously go rush the food and do their thing. And again, they do this so long that the chickens become, aware of kind of their surroundings and aware of their situation. They then take the chickens and flip-flop them into the different cages, into the different, scenario. What do you think happens? Well, you may already know. The chickens that were in the cage that things were, it took the light doing 10 flashes, and then they go into the cage where it flashes once and it drops, nothing happens. They actually are a little bit, chickens are a little bit surprised that it flashed once and there's food there. Like, well, they kind of go over and they eat their food. And then they wait a period of time, flashes once, food drops. Everything's good. They're happy. They're happy little chickens. The other scenario is the chickens that had one light, and then they go to the one where they're now got to wait, and there's 10 different flashes. Well, the moment the first light flashes and the food doesn't drop, the chickens are like, they're confused. And then a second time, no food. They're confused more. A third, a fourth, fifth, and they go all the way up to 10. And they're like, right about 7, 8, 9, they're like freaking out. And they're like, fighting each other, and they're like losing their mind. And then the 10th light hits, food drops. Okay, we're good. And then again, same thing happens. First light, second light, third light, fifth light, and they start losing their mind again because they're so confused on why they're not getting their food when the light flashes once. And the experiment goes on, and over time, what happens in that in that second cage is that the chickens actually start fighting. They start rebelling. They start like having issues. They start cannibalizing each other, and they start going nuts. And if you know anything about a chicken coop, but there's a lot of studies done on leadership and how the birds operate. But it's a very interesting scenario, right? And what I think about was in this scenario and how it can apply to life and humans and people It's amazing to me to see people that are given so many things early in their life, and that they're just, they don't really have to work for things, that things come easy to them. Things are not a big challenge to them, right? And then the moment they get put in a scenario where they get challenged mentally, physically, emotionally, everything that comes with a challenge. And it's amazing to me how people struggle in here to keep their cool. And they constantly get in their own head. And they constantly have challenges because they don't have the delayed gratification. They don't understand the value of the struggle, the value of a challenge, and how that actually really serves you if you want to be successful in the long term. And so, I want to really kind of hit home with this one. There's a ton of people that understand delayed gratification. They understand that, hey, when you work hard for something and it sucks in the beginning, it sucks in general. And listen, maybe you get good at something and then you suck later. Like, there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in being challenged and really having to, think of how to adjust, how to change, how to mold, how to, take a step back and look into a different way, right? That, again, I coach my son's soccer team a little bit, more of an assistant than the actual coach. But when things don't go their way, I get really excited because I want to know, like, I want these kids, I mean, they're 10, right? I want them to be like tough. I want them to be strong people when they get older. And so, and when they, and trust me, they get emotional really fast, right? Things don't go the way they get scored on sometimes. And the ones that really care, like my son, he gets super emotional. And I know this past weekend, they had a couple tough games and they got whooped in a game or two. And, some things that they'd never seen before when they just kind of did it to themselves, scored on themselves, like stuff that kids do. And I just like, I looked at him and I remember one time towards the end of the game, I said to my son, I said, listen, you're getting kicked a lot. Because he was trying to, we put him up front so he could score some goals, and they were down by a goal. And there's a time or two where the ball would come to him and he let it go past him, kind of spin the guy, and the guy would just kick. And again, they're 10, right? They're still figuring out their bodies. And I just looked at him like, figure it out. Like, you're going to get kicked. You're going to get challenged. Like, you have to overcome it. You have to figure out a way. Right. And so, again, so a couple experiments today I wanted to share with you guys. I think is incredibly interesting. Again, if you look at your career, you look at your life, you look at the things that you do on a daily basis and think about, hey, does this serve me? Does it serve me to look at things this way? Is this something that, hey, was just passed on to me from generations of family, of culture, of leadership, of mentors that you've worked with, of circle of influence you have? That's so vital to know who that circle of influence is. And is it the right way to look at things? And I just challenge you on that to, again, look at it in a way that, how can it serve you? How can you make adjustments? And listen, if something is broken, speak up, fix it. I was on a call again this week. I told some of my staff earlier this week, there's a, an entrepreneur I was talking to, and they said something to an extent of, that they don't speak up much because, they don't want to be that guy that speaks up. And I'm like, why? Like, speak up, like, get the information you need to make great decisions and to grow and to accomplish and to hit your goals and live your dreams. And then the second thing is, again, if something's hard right now, something's challenging right now, something that's really getting in here in your heart and your mind, and it's really frustrating, what I would say to you is, good. I am really excited. I'm really excited because I think that serves you. I think the more challenging life is sometimes, the more you get, kind of knocked down, the stronger you become in your life, the stronger you become in your opportunity, in your career, and the better off you will be to help others and to hit your goals and to make an impact on this planet while you're here. So anyways, I just want to share a couple science projects with you guys. Happy Friday. Please follow us on our, like I said, on our YouTube channel, KLEAR channel. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram, all the different places that you go on your social media on a day-to-day basis. But thanks for jumping on today. Happy Friday. We're going to be back next week and the weeks to come with some awesome people I'm working on a couple professional hockey players, a couple professional athletes in the next month or two to come join us on our YouTube channel. So thanks again for joining us today. Happy Friday, and let's help change the world one leader at a time. Thank you. See you guys. Have a good day.